The Roman Empire took 500 years to build. The Mongol Empire surpassed it in territory in under 60. Genghis Khan was born as a boy with no name of power. His father was poisoned. His family was abandoned on the steppe to starve. And yet, he died controlling more land than any other man in the history of the human species. In 1241, his armies were less than 70 kilometers from Vienna. All of Europe was defenseless. What stopped them wasn't a battle. It wasn't a king. It wasn't a wall. It was the death of one man, thousands of kilometers away. This is the story of how an empire born in absolute poverty was days away from changing the map of the West forever, and why, in truth, it never stopped doing so.
To understand what almost happened in Vienna, we first have to understand where this army came from, and its origin isn't a palace. It's the harshest steppe in Asia, Mongolia, around 1162. Historians don't agree on the exact year. Documented dates range from 1155 to 1167. The territory was divided into dozens of nomadic clans in permanent war over pasture, water, and livestock. That's where Temujin was born, the future Genghis Khan. His father, a minor chieftain named Ögedei, was poisoned by a rival tribe when Temujin was just 9 years old. The clan abandoned the family. Without a protector, they were worth nothing. His mother, Hoelun, raised her children on wild roots and rodents to survive the winter. And there's a detail in this story that almost no documentary mentions. As a teenager, Temujin was captured as a slave by a rival tribe. He spent months with a wooden yoke locked around his neck, unable to bring food to his own mouth. He escaped, and he never forgot it. That wooden yoke is the real starting point of a man who, 44 years later, would control a territory that today would cover more than 20 countries. Over the next 3 decades, Temujin did something no one on the steppe had ever managed. He built alliances. He broke alliances when it suited him. He executed rivals without hesitation. But he also did something radically different from any other leader of his time.
He promoted people by merit, not by blood. A shepherd with no family name could end up commanding 10,000 men if he proved loyalty and talent. In a world ruled by inheritance, that was a quiet revolution. In 1206, at a great assembly called the Kurultai, the clans of Mongolia proclaimed him Genghis Khan. The title means, roughly, universal ruler. For the first time in recorded history, all of Mongolia answered to a single man. And the first thing he did with that power surprised even his own generals. He imposed a legal code called the Yasa, which demanded complete religious tolerance within the empire. Buddhists, Muslims, Nestorian Christians, and Mongol shamans could practice their faith without persecution, as long as they paid tribute and obeyed the Khan. At a time when Europe was burning heretics, the most feared empire on the planet demanded no one's conversion. But unifying Mongolia didn't make him the most feared conqueror on the planet. What made him that was the machine he built afterward. A system of mounted messengers capable of crossing hundreds of kilometers in a single day. A military structure divided into units of 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000 men, with clear command at every level. Spies embedded in enemy cities months, sometimes years, before the first horsemen ever arrived. None of this existed in Europe or in most of Asia at the time, and what came next surpassed everything the steppe had ever produced before.
But what nobody told you in school is the speed at which all of this happened. Between 1207 and 1227, Genghis Khan launched campaigns against northern China, against the Khwarezmian Empire in Persia, and against the Russian principalities. Armies sometimes 3 times the size of the Mongols were destroyed in weeks. The invasion of Persia didn't even begin as a war of conquest. Genghis Khan sent a trade caravan of several hundred merchants to the Khwarezmian Empire, along with a peace delegation. The governor of the border city of Otrar accused them of espionage, executed the entire caravan, and seized their goods. Genghis Khan demanded justice. The Khwarezmian Shah refused, and also murdered the envoy sent to demand it. It was that single decision, made by one local governor, that unleashed the Mongol invasion of Persia. Entire cities like Bukhara, Samarkand, Merv, and Nishapur fell in the following months. Some chronicles of the time speak of hundreds of thousands dead in the sack of Nishapur alone. Modern historians agree these Persian chronicle figures are exaggerated, likely by a factor of 5 to 10, but they confirm the scale of the killing was real and massive. The most feared tactic wasn't brute force, it was deception. Mongol riders would fake complete retreats, sometimes for days, to make the enemy break formation and give chase. Then they would turn around. Entire cities fell to messengers who sowed terror before a single soldier arrived. And here's the fact that defines everything that came after.
Cities that surrendered without resistance were generally spared. They were forced to pay tribute, but they remained standing. Cities that resisted received a different message. They were razed, and their inhabitants were often executed en masse as a warning to the next city down the road. Modern historians estimate the Mongol campaigns in Central Asia and Persia cost between 1 and several million lives, counting direct deaths, famine, and disease. The exact figure is still debated among specialists. To understand what this meant, you need just one number. At its peak, under the successors of Genghis Khan, the Mongol Empire controlled nearly 23 million square kilometers. The Roman Empire, at its greatest extent, controlled around 5 million. The Mongols ruled nearly 5 times more territory, and they did it in a fraction of the time. Genghis Khan died in 1227 during a military campaign against the Kingdom of Western Shah. The exact cause of his death was never confirmed. Chroniclers of the time left several different accounts, and none has ever been definitively proven. But the empire didn't die with him. It was only just beginning. His sons and grandsons carried the expansion in directions Genghis Khan never lived to see. In 1240, a Mongol army under Batu Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan, razed Kiev, then the most important cultural and religious center in the Russian territories. The Russian principalities remained under Mongol rule for the next 2 centuries. Batu Khan didn't stop there. His next target was Central Europe, and in the winter of 1241, his armies entered Central Europe.
On April 9, 1241, a Mongol force crushed a joint army of Polish and German knights at Legnica in southern Poland. The next day, April 10th, the bulk of the Mongol army crushed the forces of King Bela IV of Hungary at the Battle of Mohi. 2 European armies, 2 devastating defeats in less than 24 hours. There was nothing organized left standing between Vienna and the Mongol forces. Mongol scouting parties reached Wiener Neustadt and Korneuburg, towns at the very gates of Vienna itself. Western Europe had no army capable of stopping what was coming for it. And then, thousands of kilometers away, in the Mongol capital of Karakorum, the great Khan Ögedei, son and successor of Genghis Khan, died. It was December 11, 1241. Under Mongol law, every prince with a claim to the throne had to return to Mongolia to elect the next great Khan. General Batu Khan, who commanded the invasion, gave the order to withdraw. The army standing at the gates of Vienna turned around and never came back. It wasn't a lost battle. It wasn't a wall. It wasn't a European alliance. It was a funeral in Mongolia that saved Western Europe.
But Europe wasn't the only place where the empire left an indelible mark. 17 years later, something even more decisive happened, this time in the Middle East. In 1258, a grandson of Genghis Khan named Ögedei Khan laid siege to Baghdad. At the time, Baghdad was one of the most advanced cities on the planet, a center of science, medicine, astronomy, and philosophy for nearly 500 years. The city surrendered on February 10th. It made no difference. The House of Wisdom, the greatest library in the Islamic world, was completely destroyed. According to chroniclers of the time, so many manuscripts were thrown into the Tigris River that its waters turned black with ink for days. It's one of the most cited accounts of the fall of Baghdad, though some modern historians consider it more a literary image of the era than a precisely measurable fact. Death toll estimates for the sack vary enormously between sources, from 200,000 to more than 700,000 people. There is no figure historians universally accept. What is a documented fact is this: the Islamic Golden Age, a 500-year period of scientific and cultural advancement, ended with the fall of Baghdad.
The region would take centuries to recover an intellectual center to match it. An empire born from an enslaved boy on the steppe had come to decide, with a single general's order, the fate of the most advanced city in the known world. But an empire built at this speed, across territory this immense, had a problem not even Genghis Khan could solve. There was no way to govern it as a single, unified whole. By 1260, mere decades after the death of Genghis Khan, the empire began fracturing into 4 independent khanates, ruled by different branches of his family: the Golden Horde in Russia and Eastern Europe, the Chagatai Khanate in Central Asia, the Ilkhanate in Persia and the Middle East, and the Yuan dynasty in China under Kublai Khan. 4 empires where there had once been one. The largest empire ever built as a single continuous block lasted as a real political unit barely 2 generations.
But fragmentation didn't mean the end of its influence. It meant something else. For more than a century, the four Mongol Khanates kept trade routes safe across all of Asia. Historians call it the Pax Mongolica. For the first time in history, a merchant could travel from the Mediterranean to China along the Silk Road with relative safety. The empire maintained a network of horse relay stations called the Yam, capable of moving messages and travelers thousands of kilometers in days instead of months. It was that very safety network that, decades later, allowed a Venetian merchant named Marco Polo to cross Asia to the court of Kublai Khan and return to Europe with tales almost no one believed. Ideas, technologies, spices, and diseases circulated like never before. Historians document that, a century later, those same trade routes helped spread the Black Death from Asia into Europe, though the exact path of the contagion is still being studied by specialists. And there's one last fact, the strangest of all. A genetic study published in the journal Nature in 2003 identified a Y chromosome lineage present in roughly 8% of men across a vast region of Central Asia, equivalent to about 16 million living descendants along the male line, possibly linked to Genghis Khan.
It's important to state this precisely. More recent genetic research, from the 2020s, analyzed the remains of rulers from Genghis Khan's dynasty and found a distinct, much rarer variant of that lineage. That has opened an active scientific debate over whether the 16 million men identified in the original study truly descend from Genghis Khan, or from a common ancestor who came before him. The boy who wore a wooden yoke around his neck ended up being, according to that hypothesis, one of the men with the most direct descendants in all of human history. The Roman Empire took 500 years to build, and just as long to disappear. The Mongol Empire was built in under 60 years, reached the gates of Vienna, and fractured in barely 2 generations. And yet, even today, 8 out of every 100 men across a stretch of Asia may carry his blood without knowing it. Some empires are measured in stone. This one is measured in the people it left behind.